Welcome to Global Glimpse, your trusted window into the forces shaping law, power, and policy across America. Every day we cut through the noise to bring you clarity, breaking down Supreme Court rulings, government decisions, and the political moments that define our democracy. From Capitol Hill to the White House, from the courtroom to the Constitution, we uncover the truth behind the headlines. This is Global Glimpse, where law meets logic and facts still matter. The new term of the United States Supreme Court has begun, and legal experts across the country are calling it one of the most significant in decades. At the heart of this session lies a single, powerful question. How far does presidential power actually extend under the U.S. Constitution? As the 9 justices return to the bench in Washington, D.C., they're set to consider cases that could reshape the balance between the executive branch, Congress, and the courts themselves. When Chief Justice John Roberts opened the new term, he reminded the courtroom that the Supreme Court's duty is not to make policy, but to interpret the law. Still, the reality is that every major ruling this term will have deep political consequences. On the docket are disputes that touch on presidential immunity, emergency powers, and the authority of federal agencies, all key elements in defining how much control a president truly has while in office. One of the most closely watched cases involves presidential immunity, the question of whether a sitting or former president can face criminal prosecution for actions taken while serving in office. Supporters of broad immunity argue that presidents need protection to perform their duties without fear of constant legal retaliation. Opponents counter that granting such immunity would place presidents above the law, violating the very principles of accountability that form the foundation of American democracy. During initial hearings, several justices appeared skeptical of extreme positions on either side, hinting at a potential compromise that could define new legal boundaries without tearing up old ones. The debate over immunity recalls one of the most famous cases in American history, United States v. Nixon in 1974. When the court ruled that even the president must obey a subpoena, that ruling cemented the idea that no one, not even the president, is above the law. Yet it also acknowledged the need for executive confidentiality. Today's court faces a similar balancing act, protecting the presidency as an institution while ensuring that power is not used as a shield for wrongdoing. Another major issue on the court's agenda involves executive emergency powers specifically. Whether the president can unilaterally declare national emergencies that unlock billions in federal funds without congressional approval. Critics argue that such power bypasses democratic oversight and invites abuse, while supporters claim swift action is necessary in times of crisis. The case challenges how far executive authority can reach before it undermines the constitutional role of Congress. At the same time, the justices are revisiting a long-standing debate over federal agencies and administrative authority. Several lawsuits question whether agencies such as the Environmental Protection Agency or the Securities and Exchange Commission can issue binding regulations without explicit authorization from Congress. Conservatives argue that unelected bureaucrats should not have the power to make sweeping national policies, while progressives warn that limiting agency authority could cripple vital protections for the environment, consumers, and workers. The outcome could dramatically reshape how federal governance operates on everything from climate policy to financial regulation. This term also highlights how divided the Supreme Court has become. With 6 conservative justices and 3 liberals, most major cases hinge on the votes of Chief Justice Roberts or Justice Kavanaugh, both often seen as the court's moderates. Roberts, in particular, is deeply aware of the institution's declining public trust. Recent polls show confidence in the Supreme Court near historic lows, with many Americans perceiving it as overly political. The Chief Justice has responded by stressing ethics, transparency, and judicial restraint, hoping to steer the court away from partisan perceptions. For the White House, the implications of these cases are enormous. A ruling that limits executive privilege could redefine how presidents manage classified information or respond to congressional investigations. For Congress, a decision curbing emergency powers could restore some of the legislative branch's constitutional authority over spending. And for the American public, these rulings may determine how accountable future leaders will be to the rule of law, as one constitutional scholar put it. What the court decides this year will shape the presidency for generations to come. The ripple effects are already being felt in the political arena. Both major parties are preparing for the court's eventual rulings, which are expected by next summer. Republicans are likely to frame the outcomes as a defense of original constitutional principles, while Democrats may argue that strong judicial oversight is essential to preserving democracy. Either way, the court's decisions will dominate campaign talking points and debates leading up to the 2026 elections. To understand the magnitude of this term, it helps to look at history. Landmark cases like Marbury v. Madison in 1803 established the court's power of judicial review. Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer in 1952 limited President Truman's wartime authority. United States v. Nixon in 1974 reaffirmed that the president is not above the law. Each of these moments marked a turning point in defining the boundaries of American power, and this term may well join their ranks. Legal scholars are divided on how the justices will rule. Some expect a balanced outcome, one that reaffirms accountability, while preserving the necessary flexibility of the executive branch. Others worry the court might move aggressively in redefining presidential authority, potentially upsetting decades of constitutional precedent. Regardless of the outcome, experts agree that these decisions will likely stand for decades, affecting not just this president, but every future one. As oral arguments unfold in the coming months, the nation will be watching closely. The court's opinions will not only interpret the Constitution, but also reflect how the justices perceive their role in an era of growing political division. Behind the marble columns and quiet deliberations, history is being written. History that will determine how American democracy balances leadership with accountability in the years to come. So, as the Supreme Court opens this monumental term, one thing is clear: the decisions made within these walls will echo far beyond Washington. They will influence the powers of presidents, the rights of citizens, and the strength of the constitutional system itself. It is a reminder that the rule of law remains the ultimate guardian of American democracy, even in times of uncertainty and change. And that's where we'll leave today's deep dive. This is Global Glimpse, bringing you a closer look at the stories shaping our world. If you found this report informative, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more weekly coverage on law, government, and world affairs. I'm your host. Stay informed, stay aware, and see you in the next broadcast.